Hello, my name is Wolfgang Faenderl. I studied pedagogy, social psychology, and science of communication at Ludwig-Maximilians University in Munich. Since 2004, I am consultant and trainer for cooperation processes on base of a 4-year research project for Bertelsmann Foundation at Center of Applied Policy Research. Subject was voluntary cooperation and a project framework to support it. Since 2011, I'm also giving workshops for different parts of Technical University of Munich, and I hope you can enjoy now the interactive kick-off keynote at TUM Graduate School. The subject of networking seems to be simple and daily life business, and you are right. We are part of so many private and professional networks connected by social media, direct and indirect communication with diverse partners. So what do we need to know about networking and the science of cooperation? We all create our own world of understanding, know a bunch of people to rely on, and have some more or less good contacts to others. But we also know that it's important to open up and explore other worlds, reaching new dimensions and understand our surrounding better. Like in the cosmic, global or molecular world, the social world has to do with a lot of attractions and distractions, become and pass away, bright stars and black holes. Yeah. Therefore, it's not always simple to organize expeditions or even cooperations within this cosmos. But living in a world of work sharing, it is also necessary to bring the parts together again. And the focus of our small introduction will be what attitude and basic knowledge is helpful to improve our professional networking. These are the aspects of the 25-minute keynote with short interruptions in which you can pause the video for some minutes to work on small exercises. Having time, the interaction will take you about 1 hour. Find a setting in which you can participate in a relaxed manner and without interference. Prepare paper and pencil to make notes when it's time. As far as we know, every person is connected to every other person in the world via an average of 6 to 7 people. That means you know somebody who knows somebody who knows this person. Psychologist Stanley Milgram from Harvard University postponed this thesis in 1967 and called it the small world experiment. The most recent and most comprehensive evidence for this thesis came in 2006 from Carnegie Mellon University and Microsoft Research. They analyzed the connections of 240 million instant messenger accounts and proved the average of 6.6 connecting people. And using social media like Xing, LinkedIn, and so on, we can see these connections between our online accounts. Another example for our connectedness is the spreading of a virus like COVID-19. In this case, we heard about the influence of so-called super spreaders and corresponding events, from which many other points are influenced. In social life, for fast worldwide networking, these super spreaders, like people, events, and media, play an important role. But is networking only about influencing others? There are other dimensions relevant for us. Let's follow the example of Andrea. She is a female scientist working in an international institute with many colleagues, customers, and suppliers. In her private life, she is wife and mother of 2 children, having friends and good contacts to neighbors and different interest groups. Growing up in Munich, Andrea has a regional background, but also many contacts in other countries and continents by holidays, business travels, and social media. Our networking model shows different levels, roles, and connections. Andreas' network consists of personal connections and institutional connections. On the individual level, there is sympathy and antipathy with colleagues and partners. On the institutional and community level, she takes up roles connected to other roles. Even being wife or mother are roles in the institution family. The red lines symbolize her inner team, which combines the different roles. And here you can see the different levels and a small description of their connections. In her institute, she has her own special role, cooperating with other role players inside and outside of the organization. And being part of the institute, she is part of its cooperations with other organizations, some kind of meta-networking. But that's not all. The big potential of networking is her private level, with a private connection on community level with religious, political, and other interest groups. This hidden knowledge and diversity in an institution can lead to new insights and scientific breakthroughs. If we were able to deal with all these horizontal and vertical connections in a good way, there is a huge synergy for us and all the parts we are connected with. If you can use these opportunities in your private and business life, we call this triple win. Networking becomes more productive if you not only network one-dimensionally, but also feel connected and cooperate consciously with various actors, persons, and institutions on different levels in multiple roles. That sounds great, right? But how can you set free these potentials? On the one side, you need these connectedness and common sense. But on the other side, it takes a lot of self-awareness to clarify your own possibilities and limits. In our research project, we defined networking as voluntary connection of persons and institutions to confront complex opportunities and threats with the help of resources and facilitation. Let's keep this in mind before we follow the first precondition of good networking, voluntariness. In our research on the conditions of voluntary cooperation, we analyzed different theories and experiences. If you think of your own example, motivation varies depending on the team, the occasion, and the environment. We know this from sports, that team spirit develops with a good trainer, good training conditions, and the right challenge. This is also part of a personal networking. Maybe you heard already of the flow effect. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi is psychologist and teaches corporate management at Claremont Graduate University in California. He focused on the moment in which people enjoy doing activities, for example, climbing a hill or interacting in complex systems. Let's stay with a situation of climbing a hill. Climbers report that they are able to enjoy the efforts. They are fully concentrated, forget the time, and feel inspired. It is according to the difficulty level, corresponding with their competence, experience, and condition, whether they feel the climbing boring, overwhelming, or exhilarating. If there is the right balance between an over and under challenged situation, you are able to enjoy the efforts and feel happy. Networking and also cooperation with the right goal, the right people, and the right complexity can make you happy. For this flow, it's important to bring requirements and skills into balance and start from the individual, where the motivation comes from. In our research project, we created a motivation formula with modal verbs able to express different qualities of motivation. There is the motivation from past, with previous experiences, know-how, and resources. There is a motivation in future with attractive visions and perspectives. And there is also motivation at present, according to actual needs, interests, and situations. If I can do, like to do, and will or want to do something, networking is easy and flow is near. If I must or have to do, may or may not do, and shall do something, voluntary attitude is missing. We created a quotient out of these verbs. And if result is beyond 1, we are motivated from inside, feel self-determined, and task is meaningful. If results are below 1, we are motivated from outside, feel other-directed, and task should be at least useful. This intrinsic, voluntary, and meaningful motivation is the base of each networking process. And how to enable it was the focus of our 4-year research. Is this something you want to know? How big is your motivation to go deeper into details? In team reflections, we sometimes use the motivational short tuning to know whether all participants support the process and who is left behind. When thumbs go up, we enjoy the common process, and if some are going down, we know immediately that we have to check out the reason and to give support. The motivation dynamics that occur are the I and we motivation or the you motivation. Means I feel energy from inside, inspiring others to participate, or I feel pressure from outside, forcing others to take part. Details about these motivational effects and how to deal with it are given in my workshop. For the first exercise in this interactive keynote, I follow the spirit of appreciative inquiry. AI was developed by David Cooperrider of Case Western Reserve University. He researched on development approaches in teams, organizations, and communities. In the 80s, he commissioned his students to conduct an employee survey at companies with whose management he was friends. At the end of the day, the students were very satisfied with the results. Only some management directors asked, "What the hell have you done with my employees? They are now downstairs in the cafeteria talking about their working conditions and they feel unsatisfied." What happened? The survey tried to question both good and bad experiences. But mistakes, dissatisfaction, and need for improvement came very quickly in the mind of the interviewed and had been overemphasized during the interviews. David Cooperrider came to the result that people and systems move in the direction they are looking, and the questions we ask determine what we find. Appreciative inquiry therefore focuses on the strengths, the positive, the potential. This does not mean to neglect criticism on bad situations or mismanagement, but especially at the beginning of a cooperation process, it's worth getting to know the potential of the other and of your own. This is the base for self-confidence and further intrinsic motivated cooperation. Criticism and error friendliness are dealt with appropriate instruments in a later period. So, stay positive if you reflect best practice of your own networking experiences. It can be private or professional, but it's important to learn from your own hidden expertise. Let's take 10 minutes on these 3 questions, one after the other. Do you remember a special moment you enjoyed networking? This helps you to reflect a single story. The second, what have been reasons for this good feeling and success? Helps you to go deeper and analyze the situation and the reasons. And the third question, are there 3 recommendations for coming networking processes? Helps to focus on the prioritized experiences and come to a transfer into future. If you want to participate, you can now stop for the video and go on after you finished. I hope this experience or exercise inspired you to make further experiences. Sometimes we are entangled in so many working obligations that networking seems like a burden to us. For me, networking and cooperation processes are not only a profession, but also a passion. Because with this research interview and research project on voluntary cooperation, we were able to develop and test collaboration instruments which are efficient, effective, and enjoyable at the same time. So we designed a holistic framework for orientation for each kind of process. The triangular compass of networking is one of my most important instruments in consultation and moderation. It helps a group of participants to concentrate on the essentials, getting to the point. Again, past, present, and future aspects are in demand. And we first ask questions because every setting gives different answers. The core question, why does this networking make sense to me and others? This brings you to the deeper essence of networking. What are the goals that we will achieve in this process helps to find the thematic perspective. Who are the partners who can support and benefit along the way makes clear the organizational resources. And how do we treat each other that everyone likes to cooperate in the long term links to our methodic motivational development. The most important law in voluntary networking, it has to make sense for you and others. So we identified synergy effects of networking for each core question, which are visualized in the added value curve. Why cooperation makes sense? If it's attractive and motivating all participants. What is the best goal for a cooperation? If solutions are more efficient and effective by networking than alone. And who is part of a beneficial cooperation? Contacts and relationships we like to increase and improve. And how are we cooperating in a better way? When quality of cooperation is getting better during the process. Another trend in the networking world where agile concepts, Scrum methods, and design thinking is used is the inclusive approach, welcoming diversity and differences. Our own networking development as a child, the human socialization, gives an idea of natural networking processes. The baby, I, usually has its own mother, you, as the first caregiver, and gradually perceives other members of the family. he, she, and it. This creates a we feeling over time. Meeting other family groups, you, as well as exchanging ideas about and with others, they, creates a sense of community, we to the power of two. This community can, for example, define regionally, politically, or religiously, and oppose other communities. Gradually, there is a consciousness of society, we to the power of three, in which everything is related to everything, and we are dependent on each other. The development of a stable and natural networking process goes from the individual to the institutional to the community level. Remember this if you start with your next project or networking process. Try to avoid an open invitation or conference at the beginning. Start with one-on-one interviews with stakeholders of interest groups. More about this in the workshop. To be clear about the characteristic of your motivational attitude, question yourself whether the process is diverse, with different and complementary partners. Is it interactive, and do the others want to cooperate? Is this process step by step and according to our networking model circular? Will the results be inclusive and sustainable, even for those you don't currently know or even reject? And you imagine that this complex networking needs facilitation and support from a methodical side. Cooperation management in scientific processes has different formats, depending on the goals and the number of people over time. If there is a manageable group of colleagues, we call it teamwork. If we want to expand our contacts beyond our own team and organization, we usually speak of networking. When we have to work with an open group of people for a limited time, we speak of project management. And in many of these processes, we need conflict management in the right places. In each case, we need the right attitude, clear strategies, appropriate methods, and networking competencies. Till now, my keynote left more questions than answers, but let's get specific. Is there an upcoming meeting, project, or campaign in which networking plays an important role for you? The following orientation will help you planning or describing a networking process. If you turn the unstable triangular compass upside down, the time dimensions remain, but the triangular becomes stable and question marks in the middle becomes an exclamation point. It's like answer to the questions of the beginning, and it's holistic and fractal. What means you can use it as an orientation framework in both simple and very complex processes. It just gets more detailed. Today, to make a description more easy, we have some bullet points so as not to overlook anything important in process planning or presentation. My consultation and facilitation work became more easy by this orientation, and it's a permanent key to better common understanding in cooperation processes. If it's the right time, stop the video for about 25 minutes and describe your own networking project by some keywords which come into your mind. As postgraduate, you already have a lot of experience with networking. But as soon as you think of future fields of application, forms of cooperation, and interdisciplinary exchange, you need hard facts as well as soft skills. Networking is always finding your own role in a complex process and also inspiring others to find their roles. A good networking process enables the voluntary steps from interest to cooperation and from cooperation to coordination. With each of these steps, the identification gets better and the feeling of co-responsibility increases. Networking has to do with exchange among different kinds of people, participation and a good contact with partners you want to achieve goals. And last but not least, a qualification through clear facilitation and experienced action. The kickoff workshop at TUM Graduate School, they are really perfect opportunities to improve these soft skills, get inspired by experienced trainers, and expand your own professional networks. In the end of this keynote, I like to invite you in the big cosmos of networking experiences. From the networking of your own brain cells to the global climate dependencies, from the networking of self-sufficient biotope to man-made networks related to transport, electricity, or internet. Let's enjoy the richness and complexity of our cooperations. We are part of nature and part of life. Stop networking and start net living.